Now in the last two videos I covered how to prevent getting blisters and to prevent chafing. Obviously these are two serious impediments to you being able to do the full distance that you want to do when you're doing the ultra marathons. However, even with these two issues covered, which for me, as I've explained, I don't suffer with these anymore, but even with these covered, you've still got other issues that will arise in the body, like cramp, stomach distress, and naturally, because of the distances that you're doing, just sore muscles, the aches and pains just appear in the body purely as a result of the distances you're doing. And what I would say about that is it's very difficult to prevent these types of aches and pains in the body. So if you're aware that they're going to happen, you at least stand a chance of being able to deal with them mentally. Now, the mental element is a very significant part of doing any of these ultramarathon distances. Firstly, you've got to have the mind in a positive state so that you're confident that you can actually do the distance that you want to do. If you have it in your mind that you're only going to a certain point, like for instance in the parish walk, there's 17 churches that you need to pass through to complete the 85 miles. Now obviously not everyone sets off from the start line having the finish 85 miles as their goal. We all have different targets that we might want to achieve. However, if you have the mind that you're going to get, say for instance to Peel, which is 32.5 miles, and that's your target, then you stand a better chance of getting to Peel if you have a positive state of mind with that regard. Assuming then that you've got that positive, confident mindset going into the event, when the aches and pains arise, which they will do, it's inevitable. No one gets away with it. Even the ones who win or are the top elites, they still have the aches and pains. So those of us who are further down the field, we're naturally going to get them as well. I think one of the hardest things that you can have is when these aches and pains, stomach distress, just general feeling low crop up, is that the mind will naturally gravitate to the negative, and it compounds effectively the suffering that you're undergoing physically. So for me, what I aim to do, knowing full well that there are times during the walks and the races where these will crop up, what I have to do is basically be aware of them in the first place, because if you're aware of them, you can see them for what they are. They're just thoughts going through the mind. They just come and they go. As long as you can be aware of them, you're halfway there. Not to get involved with them, not to interact with them, because once you do, they're invariably negative in nature. So they'll make you feel even worse. So the pains and sensations that you experience feel worse. So what I tend to do is, as I say, firstly because I'm aware they're going to crop up. When they do crop up, they don't really have much of an effect on me. But I can distract myself. I can start to look at the scenery more, become more present in my surroundings. And this is what I like to do anyways. I do like to enjoy the walks as I'm going. Of course, if it's raining or it's dark, you can't see the scenery. So that distractive technique invariably won't work and it won't help you. So what else you can do is, if for instance, like for me, I tend to get aches and pains, particularly in my back. I have issues around my back, which I go to the chiropractor for. But what I end up doing is I'll direct my attention, for instance, to my feet. So I'm more aware of my feet moving, and my arms, I can distract my attention to my arms to make sure that I'm moving them and not just letting them dangle at my sides, which I quite often do. So these are the type of things that you can do when you're aware of the thoughts arising, which are negative in nature. You can deliberately distract your own awareness and attention away. Once you've done that, you've then got the opportunity for the mind to act how it does. The thoughts arise and they pass away. So if you don't get too involved in them, they'll disappear and they'll get replaced by other thoughts. And one of the other helpful things that I find works for me when I might be feeling the aches and pains in the body, or perhaps the energy's feeling a little bit low, is I will consciously replay certain mantras that I have. So, for instance, I might say, whether it's true or not in the moment, I might say, I'm feeling strong, my body is strong, my mind is strong. Things like this, which in the moment might not be true, and from a mindfulness point aren't necessarily correct, because being mindful of how the body is in any moment is a plus. But like I say, you don't want to go down the slippery slope where if you're feeling low or tired, or the body is giving you lots of pain, is to go down that negative route. Yes, you have got the aches and pains and you may be feeling a little bit under the weather temporarily, but if you're just focused from a mindfulness point of view on how bad you're feeling, and then the mind takes that on board, you can reinforce it and it just makes it worse. And in tandem with that, before the race starts, if you can encourage the backup to give you regular updates for how you're doing in relation to your target goals for each of the different checkpoints along the way, this can be quite helpful, because if you're feeling low and you've got these aches and pains, you won't necessarily be fully aware of how well you're doing. So if the backup is able to give you the positive updates, that can also help spur you along and shift your mindset so that you're no longer focused on feeling low or aches and pains. You can get renewed spurts of energy just from that simple little prompt that will come from your backup. In summary then, basically your mind is very strong, very powerful, and it will be a help or a hindrance to you when you're doing these type of events. You know that when you go in, you're going to have these issues to deal with. You're going to have the ups and downs, and I've shared with you today a few of the tips that I use to help me when it crops up. You may have other ways of dealing with it, or if you haven't, maybe this will inspire you to come up with your own solutions which will enable you to achieve the goals that you want.